Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin soul channel and Western astrologer. And this video is about the new moon in Taurus occurring on May 11th, 2021 at 2:59 p.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. This is the video for twin souls, twin flames, soulmates, divine connections about this lunation. You'll see here that the new moon is taking place out here at the 21st degree of Taurus and is heralding in a period of time of inner focus or focus on our internal processes, focus on how we're caring for ourselves, nurturing for ourselves, valuing ourselves as we all move into this beginning of a post-lockdown era. I talked about this at length inside of the Lightworker video for this lunation, so please have a listen to that for a greater clarification of the energies of this moment in time and how to use them. In this video, I'm going to speak more directly just about the planets that I read as divine masculine, Jupiter, and divine feminine, Juno, and their movement through the sky for divine counterparts. Again, I really encourage you to take a look at the information so you understand the context of this movement at this time, because in understanding the context, you understand how to use the energy. All right, let's dive in. At this point in time, the divine feminine has begun her retrograde motion. Juno retrograde lasts from April 12th, I believe it is, through August 2nd of 2021. I did a full video on the divine feminine's retrograde motion. And what that means for divine counterparts called Juno Retrograde 2021. So please have a listen for that if you want to better understand this energy, because this lunation, the new moon in Taurus, is significant because Taurus is the first feminine sign of the zodiac. As the first feminine sign of the zodiac, it is the divine feminine's new moon in the way that I read. And at this new moon, this provides the information about the divine feminine's energy from now until the next new moon in Taurus a year from now. And this energy will be with us for the fullness of this period of time, playing out in different permutations as we move from lunation to lunation. So it's a big one. We had the divine masculine's new moon, the new moon in Aries, as the first masculine sign of the zodiac about a month ago. Now we'll have the new moon in Taurus. After this, the next new moon will be the new moon in the sign of Gemini, and that will be the twins' new moon. So let's talk about what the divine feminine energy is at this juncture. As the saying goes, ladies first, right? Ha ha. Okay. So we have divine feminine in retrograde motion at this lunation. And this is one of the reasons why, when I looked at the lunar energies for the year, one of the themes that really came forward for divine feminine was a really deep focus on her light work, a really deep focus on navigating her way into the most true and authentic version of herself she could be on the planet. She's sitting in the sign of truth, freedom, faith, hope, and optimism. But in retrograde motion, she's not providing her partnership best. Instead, she's providing a bit more of a self-focus, a bit more of a focus on her needs. And this becomes it's never more true than it is at this new moon in Taurus for divine feminine energy. Because as you look up here at the Taurus new moon, several things are true. The first is that this new moon is conjunct Lilith. Lilith, as that first wife of Adam, brings forward an energy of divine counterpartship, divine companionship, But Lilith was replaced by Eve at some point in the story. And what we know about Lilith is that, there were just certain ways in which she wasn't really being seen, heard, met, supported, and she left. She left the Garden of Eden, and her energy is more of kind of an all or nothing energy. It's if I can't have my needs met, then I really can't be here. This isn't the place for me to be. Now, Taurus is an energy that's all about nurturing. And if we're looking at a new moon conjunct getting our needs met or being out of here, this is an energy that's really talking about being more centered in self, more self focused than ever before, and really honoring our journey. But one of the other reasons that this new moon in Taurus, this lunation, and this cycle, this 1 year cycle for divine feminine energies, has a lot to do with, not really focusing on the partnership, but more stepping forward in light work, is because of the angle that it makes to the divine feminine asteroid. Here we have Juno. This angle is what we as astrologers call in conjunct. It's an angle of either or. You can either do this or you can do that at this time, but you can't really do both. It's very difficult to do both because Juno's moving retrograde, bringing more of her energy around self focus rather than partnership focus. Lilith is in the mix at this lunation saying, hey, I need my needs met. And Taurus is the sign of self worth and self value. This new moon in Taurus is really talking about asking the divine feminine energy to take her rightful place on her throne in her throne room, whether anyone else is there to witness it or not, whether the divine masculine wants to come play or not. It doesn't really matter. This is her time. This is the time for nurturing her dreams, her goals, her desires. Taurus is the sign of desire. This is the time for taking really solid inventory of where she's been, what it is she's been up to in the world of partnership, and precisely what it is she wants next. So it's a time of taking stock. It's a time of recalibration in the middle of the journey or at this juncture of the journey. For many of you who've been on a journey for many years, this is not the middle. This is just the most recent chapter. So it's a time of really taking stock. Now I'll just repeat it. I say it in almost every video, but inevitably somebody's like, but what about me? I'm not female, or but what about me? I'm trans, or what about me? I'm both. I just have to say it. Everyone has both energies. So this is what's going on with the feminine energy for everyone on the planet, not just people who were born into cisgender female bodies. Now that I've said it, let's all move on. Okay. One of the other interesting things for her at this time, and this is also why it's kind of like a take your hands off the steering wheel of the connection, focus on it a lot less, put your hands and set your sights on your ambition, on your goals, on what you want to experience, is because of the square that she's making to Neptune at this time. Now, this squaring energy is with us for the majority of the year. There are some pockets when it's just less palpable, and I spoke about those pockets inside of the Juno retrograde video during the Juno retrograde period. The square will come back as Juno moves direct toward the end of the year, but we will have a bit of a breather from Juno's energy in the midsummer, or in mid-June, I should say, because for those of you in Australia, it'll be winter. We're in South Africa, Southern Hemisphere. Once we get a break from the Neptunian energy that's withdrawing a lot of the partnership glue and commitment that Juno provides, we'll be headed straight into Juno talking with Chiron energy at that juncture. And when Juno speaks with Chiron, she's doing, because that's a harmonious aspect, she's doing a lot more self-healing work from the sign of Aries, healing self, Aries self, self-healing work around a lot of where her goals, dreams, and ambitions have been. given what the partnership has been like up until this point. So, Juno here in the sign of Sag is about goals, hopes, wishes, and dreams. Aries, where Chiron sits, is all about ambition and our drive and our motivation to move forward. When these two speak in harmony, Juno and Chiron in the summer, this is going to be a period of fulfillment, a period of recommitting oneself to what fulfills one's own desires, what fulfills one's own selfhood, what allows one to feel in partnership with self. And the name of the game is starting to look at, where is it that you have empty cup in your connections? And by empty cup, what I'm talking about is all of the needs that you have wanted a partner to fulfill for you. When we have a hole in our cup, when people pour into that cup, what happens is it's almost never enough. And this is going to be a period of time for self evaluation, whether you're in some form of romantic 3D union in the material realm or you're not. The building energy that we're moving into is a recognition of the places where we have empty cup, where even if we got into union, if you're not in union, or even if you are in union, there are still things that you want, desire to experience in your earthly journey as part of your service here, as part of your soul fulfillment here, that are part of your journey, no matter what's going on in the partnership. And this theme for this new moon in Taurus, and as we move from this new moon in Taurus to a year from now, the theme has to do with filling that hole in our cup first, being our own divine counterpart, our own divine partner, fulfilling on those things that we desire to experience and share in the earth realms, regardless of what's going on in the connection. And so if you wanted to kind of experiment with this for yourself, what I'd recommend is to make a journal entry or just take some time for self-reflection for yourself. What are the things that you want? What are the things you want to experience? What are the things you want to share in the earth realms, since that's where you're here, you're stationed here at the moment? What are those things you'd like to experience, regardless of what happens in the connection and the partnership? If you're in union, regardless of whether or not they are going to want to do those things with you, regardless of whether or not they're part of your joint goals, where is your soul called? If you're not in some form of 3D romantic union, if you ever get into one or not, what do you want to experience? When you look back on your life, what do you want to say you did? And you got the chance to share with the other, incarnates here on earth. That's the question that we're posed with for this 1 year cycle. I'm not big into numerology. I don't know a whole lot about it. I say that on my site. I can't answer questions about numbers. So if you want to know about numbers, speak to someone who's skilled at numerology. The little bit that I do know is that the number 5 represents change, growth, transformation. Things cannot go on as they used to be. And so, because this is a 5 year, when you total up 2 plus 2 plus 1 in the years 2021, it's a 5 year in the Gregorian calendar. This is a year that's inviting us to step into that change now, to take stock of where things have been a way that no longer serves in the way we've been operating the connection, and to facilitate our own leadership, be our own leader, step into changing those patterns now. And I talk a lot about why and how 2021 is a year of that caliber of change inside of the Lightworker video. So if you haven't had a chance to listen to that, I highly recommend you pause and go back and listen, because that video really provides the context for what's changing, why it's changing, how we're invited to participate in the change, and what you can expect from the people around you as we move through these changes. Okay. So that's the theme. I mean, it's interesting because as Divine Feminine moved forward in the last retrograde, which was a retrograde in Libra, she was retrograde in 2020 from about March until June, I believe. No, June, July. Maybe it was June. Libra is the sign about partnership and balance. And so during that retrograde, it was about rebalancing the energies in the partnership itself and rebalancing herself, right? And as she began to move forward, we could start to feel from mid last summer all the way through the end of last year in December, we start to feel the union window energies open. They've been open from December until now. Now we have Divine Feminine definitively no longer moving in harmony with Divine Masculine energy. And again, I spoke about this at length inside the Juno retrograde video. So if you haven't listened, have a listen. You'll find a lot of information that will help explain what you're experiencing in the connection at this time. They're no longer moving in harmony. She's backing up. She's pulling partnership energy into herself, becoming her own divine counterpart. In this movement is an opportunity in the partnership to demonstrate by filling your own cup how much more fulfilling relationships can become when she begins to move in harmony with him again. And there is a bigger, I want to say better union window opening as we move into 2022, towards the end of this year, that has even more pull and more dynamism than the one we just experienced. It's also the last time we had the harmony that we're going to find unfolding as we move through 2022 was 2014, 2015. So it's kind of a big deal time. This preparatory year, new moon in Taurus 2021 to new moon in Taurus 2022, May to May. This preparatory year is a period of time for Divine Feminine energies where she's really being asked to stake her claim in the world of light work around what she's here to do, who she is, and what she's here to give, and how, as her own healer, she can begin the process of sharing her light and her healing with others, with the Chiron making a harmonious aspect to her as she begins to move forward in June. So keep that in mind, that her forward movement is going to be about sharing the light. But at this moment in time, this is about getting your own light infusion and really stoking that fire within self as she moves through fire sign Sagittarius. Okay. One of the other features of this lunation, the new moon in Taurus, the Divine Feminine's new moon, that is part of the package for this whole year, is the connection that she's making to Eris. Now, again, I spoke about this in the Juno retrograde video, but I know that video is lengthy. Not everyone's going to watch it. So I'm going to briefly touch on this here. Eris talking to Juno it's neither good nor bad, but it's tricky because Eris has a very particular agenda. Eris's energy is the energy of divine strife, discord. She kind of blows things up. She's the energy of fight. And when Eris blows things up specifically, when you look at the mythology, is when she has felt resentful, when she's felt disenfranchised, excluded, overlooked, ignored. And because Divine Feminine is making such a harmonious contact to Eris at the beginning of this cycle, one of the things that'll start to present in your divine connection is your own resentment, where the places inside of you where your feminine energy has felt unmet. And so remember, feminine energy is about our creativity, flexibility, flow, receptivity, our capacity to be the tempest, unfold and unfurl, be in bloom, fertility. All of that is feminine energy. And where that feminine energy has felt unmet in our world, if we maybe feel like our friends don't respect that part of ourselves, or if we maybe feel like at our job that part of ourselves is excluded, or in our family, if that part of ourselves is constantly kind of brushed aside or tamped down, or we're penalized for bringing that part of ourselves to the table, during this new moon in Taurus, and again, because this is the signature beginning energy for the cycle for the rest of the year until next new moon in Taurus, we're going to all be really sensitive to that particular sensation, where we might feel like our feminine energy just isn't respected. In particular, inside of your divine connection, if your surrender, if your flexibility, if your creativity to be with the connection in whatever way it's unfolding has been something that's been taken for granted, you are going to find a little voice in the back of the head going, blow it up, make them feel your pain, ignore their phone call, punish them. They should know how this feels too. And it'll be subtle, it'll be soft, it will be the kind of thing where you may not even really recognize that you're doing that with, people in any one of the areas of life that I just mentioned, right? You may not even recognize that you're doing that. But the invitation, because this is a trine, which is harmonious energy, is to recognize it and transmute it into the light. So I made a little diagram in the Juno retrograde, which I will repeat here. If you can just consider this wheel a pie, and this is your 100%, this half is your 100% of things to give in the pie, to make things work with any connection in your life, your boss, your sibling, your cousins, whomever, your friends, your divine counterpart. That's your 100% to give. And whoever you're dealing with, let's just say maybe what they are giving is this much. They're maybe giving 30%, 40% of their 100. And so you say, okay, to make this work, I've got to reach past my middle point and fill in the gap this much. I got to fill in all this space over here. I know you guys love my drawings. Hit that like button. Okay, so when we have had to reach past our personal limit, what can happen is that Eris energy can kick up and resent can be what follows. And because Eris is speaking with divine feminine energy in harmony, the invitation is, rather than move into, let's punish them for quote unquote making me have to give more. Nobody makes anyone do anything. We do that because there's something we're trying to get. And they're doing what they're doing because that's what feels right to them. The invitation is to instead dial back. The invitation, which is what divine feminine is doing. She's moving retrograde. She's not providing partnership with other energy. She's providing partnership with self energy. So where you feel like you've overgiven, made yourself over available, you've overstretched, you've been over receptive, you've been over flexible, you've been overly creative, you've pretzeled yourself to make something work in your feminine energy and a connection. This new moon in Taurus is your invitation to look at that and say, you know what? I love this person and I don't want to feel resent. I want to continue to feel love. So, in order for me to continue to feel love and not kind of cultivate resent, I've got to stop giving in that way. I've got to stop sharing past my middle point. I've got to move in to my own self care, plug up the hole in my cup, fill my cup, become my own divine counterpart at this time. And that's how we can utilize this energy to facilitate growth in our connections. It's interesting. I was listening to a webinar earlier today with Thais Gibson. You guys know I love her. I highly recommend work with her. And somebody had asked a question about sharing, where they had done all these things to help a person that they loved get out of a narcissistic abusive relationship. And Thais had kind of mentioned that when you do all of that, you rob that person of doing their work. You rob them of their growth. And so that's some of the invitation here. They may grow, they may not. Who knows? But you can't continue to carry the connection if it's unbalanced or uneven. All you can do is draw back, pull that energy for yourself, water yourself, grow yourself, nurture and nourish yourself with the new moon in Taurus. And like I said, this is the energy for the year from new moon to new moon. The cycle is open. Okay. So we'll get the opportunity to do a check-in on how we're doing with this at the at the new moon in Scorpio, which will be 6 months from now, because Scorpio is the opposing sign to Taurus, and you're not pulling back to punish or to withdraw your light. The issue here is you're pulling back in places where you've been overgiving more than your 100%, and you're just resentful. That's what you're looking at. This Eris energy is where you want to pay attention to the places in your world where love has started to get mixed in with resent, where care and mutuality has started to get mixed in with feeling excluded, overlooked, disenfranchised, etc. Okay, especially in your creative energies. All right, your creative receptive energies. So we're going to pause here before we talk about what divine masculine energy is doing. If you're already hearing something that resonates for you, I invite you to go ahead and book a reading with me in the calendar. The June calendar is open. You can find a link below to kmoonastro.com, which is where you can book a reading, and we can look at how you can utilize this energy, because it's a year-long cycle. We can look at how you can utilize this energy in your own life. If you want to do personal reading, if you want to talk through some of the dynamics in your connection, we can look at how to leverage this energy and the connection for greater growth and greater healing. Okay. We're also going to do a short commercial here. And so if you have it in you to watch it, that's great. Thank you so much. It helps the channel grow. If you can make it through just one commercial, it helps facilitate me continuing to provide this content. And if you're new, welcome. Please subscribe if you've heard something that resonates. I'll be right back after this to talk about divine masculine energy. Great. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Let's dive into what the divine masculine energy is doing at this new moon in Taurus. So we can find Jupiter, planet I read is divine masculine here at that 29th degree of Aquarius. So much fun. The next degree is the first degree of Pisces. Boom, moving into spiritual energy, moving into spiritual awareness. I have a feeling for many divine masculine energies that movement into Pisces is going to be a period of deepened spiritual awareness, not just about the connection, but about who they are as a masculine energy on planet Earth, who you are as a masculine energy on planet Earth, What is it that's very sacred about them and their journey, etc. And this is, I'm specifically speaking to people now who identify as one energy more than another. We can all go in cycles around that. So you may find that you're really balanced in both right now. You may find that you identify in more of the divine masculine energy at this time, or your counterpart does. Like I said, it can be cyclical. So, as Jupiter is at this final degree of Aquarius, it's going to go 2 degrees into Pisces before backing up into Aquarius for a retrograde season. During this time, there are some real there's some pressure points put on divine masculine energy as it rests at that 29th degree. And the pressure points have to do with, have I done what I said I would do when it comes to taking care of the people in my life that I owe things to, that I have committed to in some way? This could be children, this could be financial debt, this could be business partnerships, this could be communities that they're leaders within. If your counterpart runs a company, all of their employees, have I fulfilled on the things that I set out to do for them? Aquarius is the sign that looks out for the greater good. It looks out for the community, for what people need. And Aquarius is also the sign of the quantum leap. It is the sign of evolution and technology and transformation that happens lightning quick overnight. This particular point, that 29th degree of Aquarius, we call these critical degrees in astrology. They're periods of crises where at this 29th degree, this crisis energy really evokes inside of us a pressure around the lesson of the sign. And so many divine masculine energies may be experiencing at this time this internal need to get it right when it comes to all things Aquarius, which are things I just mentioned. Because as it moves into Pisces, a new cycle begins, a new lesson unfolds, etc. Now, the good thing, if you're a divine masculine energy listening to this, the great thing about this is that you have more time. You're going to take 2 steps into Pisces, and as soon as you're in, you retrograde back inside of Aquarius. And then you have more time to kind of comb through and make sure you've dotted the I's and crossed the T's in the Aquarian energy. So some of the things that you may feel incomplete around or not finished or still need attention in these Aquarian areas. Friendships are covered under the sign of Aquarius as well. If there's anything here, you have more time to work through it. And Jupiter, once retrograding back into Aquarius, stays in Aquarius until December, January. So you have the rest of the year really. But you're going to get a taste of this new spiritual, very etheric energy. I would say end of May, beginning of June, and beginning of July. And after that, we're headed back into Aquarian energy. But you'll find that these summer months have a very special quality to them that are going to be like a preview of the way 2022 is going to feel and the themes that 2022 will bring forward in your life, in your divine masculine energy. Now, there's some other really important things taking place for the divine masculine at this lunation. As I mentioned, no longer in harmony with divine feminine energy. You may feel either she's pulling away or the connection is slipping away, or there's a bit of like just less glue as she turns her attention inwards. And you in your own feminine energy are really being pushed to use all of your creativity, flexibility, feminine energy, go with the flowness to finalize these Aquarian lessons. This is a period of time where your own partnership energy may be, because now divine feminine's moving retrograde, is lowering. And that's okay. We all have cycles where we need to focus on self, even in connection. So Jupiter is making more aspects here. We've got a square to Ceres. Okay. Ceres represents one of the mothers of the zodiac. And we've got a trine to the creation goddess Haumea. So it's harmonious energy to creation goddess. And then we also have energy speaking to Eris as well. So let's break this down, right? So Ceres and creation goddess are two of the mothers of this zodiac. We also have moon, the new moon being another one of the mothers. It's the classical mother energy. So at this time, it's because there's harmony to creation goddess, disharmony to Ceres, and there's a bit of a square with moon. We have a bit of a push-pull dynamic between divine masculine energy and mothers and mothering, which is interesting because in the US, we're about to celebrate a holiday we call Mother's Day, where we honor our mothers and their role in our lives. But as we arrive at this Mother's Day, and I look at this energy, this is really talking about two things. One is really kind of recognizing, that for some, this is going to be a recognition that in the journey as maybe a son, if you're identifying more in divine masculine energy, or yeah, let's start there. Just take them one at a time. This is a recognition that as a son, perhaps you have journeyed as much as you can in your growth and development with your mother at this time. So, this is an energy of kind of recognizing that you've grown beyond the concepts and constructs that your mother has given you. And you're now ready to transcend, go beyond some of the things that you were taught as a child, maybe some of the childhood wounding and pain that you may have experienced at the hand of your mother. This is an aspect that's going to call into question if there has been any pain in the relationship to your mom from your masculine side of your energy. Maybe if you're a girl born cisgender female and she really disapproved of your masculinity, maybe you were athletic or you like to wear boys' clothes or, those kinds of things. And she just, why can't you just wear pink? Or why can't you just be more like your sister? Those kinds of wounds may come up. And not so much in the wounded sense at this time, just in the kind of like, I'm ready to lay the story that there's something wrong with me from my interactions with my mom. I'm ready to lay that story to rest. There could also be, and it could, if you're a cisgender guy, same thing, if maybe she was just like, why don't you go play baseball? Why do you have to sit here and play piano all the time? Or, why don't you be more like your brother? Why are you so artsy? This kind of thing. If this has been messaging that you've received, the clarity of its non-workingness at this point in time is going to be very clear to you. And that you're ready to lay that to rest, move on, tell yourself a different story, reparent yourself, remother yourself in a new way. That's one way this energy can play out. The other way this energy can play out, as I'm seeing, is that there could be a little bit of difficulty if if someone's pregnant. Let's just start there. Let's just say you got someone pregnant, you're not sure if you're the father, or you are the father and you're like, "Ooh, I did not mean to get you pregnant and I am not ready to be a dad." All of this kind of drama around initiations into fatherhood from a mothering energy, or there's a love triangle and there's, one of the ladies is pregnant. This kind of drama is inherent to this configuration. And so, not to worry, as Jupiter rocks through the retrograde cycle inside of Aquarius, the conversation about what's going to be for the greater good of all, including self, is going to help iron this stuff out. And so this window of time, this new moon here in Taurus, is an invitation. And I talk about this in the light worker energy update. So please have a listen to that, into our own self-care. Because if everyone is working in the situation from a full cup, we have the opportunity for best outcomes. But if anyone is working from a half empty cup or from a place of not meeting their own needs and then trying to get everyone else to meet those needs, that's when we start to run into problems. Is the lack of self-awareness. And this Jupiter at the critical degree and the sign of divine insight at this new moon, with this mothering energy coming in at difficult and harmonious angles, it's going to be an eye opener. And then the third way I'm seeing this play out for divine masculine energies is a bit of a recognition around the relationship between your experience of your mom, whether she was there, not there, nurturing, not nurturing, whatever your experience and perception of her as a mother and or a partner, wife was. This is a period of time where you'll start to get some clarity around that perception and then the choices that you end up making in the world of dating and relating to feminine energy. And again, you don't necessarily have to be a cisgender male. You could be a female who dates other females, and you can look back and you can see the way my mom did mom, the way she did wife or partner, and the influence that had and the imprint that had on my subconscious mind. I now see this is why I make the decisions that I make in the world of dating and relationship. Insight. Okay, I'm ready to change. I want to make new decisions that aren't based on my old templates, but instead are based on who I really am. So there's a third way that this energy could play out for divine masculine energies. So I wanted to make sure I laid all of that out for each of you. Because Eris is the challenge energy here, and we've got a square here. It's actually not a square to Ceres, it's a sextile. My apologies. But because the Eris energy is here, I don't like it. I don't like, one of the things I see here is this conversation between Ceres, Eris, and Jupiter, where there's a potential for manipulation and control. And then resentment coming out of that. Resentment coming as a result of feeling manipulated and or controlled by mothering figures in your world. That could be a challenge that shows up here. But again, like I said, as Jupiter moves, gets that taste of Pisces energy and then backs up into Aquarius energy, we have the rest of the year to work out, okay, how am I going to deal with this? Do I need to take a stand? Do I need to have a conversation? Do I need to make some new boundaries? There's going to be some ways in which this story that may pop up at the new moon in Taurus or the next couple of weeks has the opportunity to get worked out in the late summer with the Jupiter retrograde. So if you want to have a look at your connection and understand the dynamics in it, if you want to have a look, one of the things some of my clients ask, not everyone thinks to ask it or has a need to ask it, is and this is a great lunation to take this into consideration, is what's my counterpart's relationship like to their mother? Because whatever that relationship is, and unless they've consciously looked at it, examined it, and owned it, there's a lot of ways in which that relationship can be puppeteering from a subconscious perspective, their perspective and choices in connection with you. So sometimes in readings, I can look at that with you and help you understand their connection with their mom so that you can get greater compassion in what you're witnessing and the way that they are dealing with you. So that's one way to kind of work a reading at this time if you're curious. So, or if you want to look at your own relationship with your mom and to your masculine energy, this is a great time to do that as well. So you can just start to understand, like, here is where I'm at with it. How can I grow? How can I work with this energy going forward? One of the most powerful questions I ever asked myself, um, when I went and did past life regression therapy a few years back, was, why did I choose the parents that I chose? Why this mom? Why this dad? And I got an answer from the past life regression therapy, but now that I know astrology, it actually makes even more sense. And so we can look at that kind of thing in a reading as well. So this is a great time. Reading calendar is open. If you heard something that resonated for you and you're new here, welcome. Please subscribe. I'm here every new and full moon with these kinds of videos to help you in your journey. And definitely hit that like button. It helps the content get circulated, lets the algorithm know that this is the kind of thing that others who might also be on a very confusing divine counterpart journeys might benefit from as well. Thank you so very much for watching, liking, subscribing, and sharing, and I will see you in the next video.